Yeah, I got it. It's an area.
I now call the November 18th, 2025 meeting of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education to order. There being no opposition to any items on the agenda, it's adopted by unanimous consent. I now turn to Board Member Dr. Monty Witherspoon to introduce our pledge leader for this evening.
Thank you. Chloe Littlejohn, an 11th grade honors student from Philip O'Berry Academy of Technology, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. Chloe is a natural leader and is a smart, hardworking student that I'm honored to introduce today. Chloe enrolled in the health science pathway. Her favorite subject is anything science related. And she's always been fascinated by how science connects to real life, especially with her aspiration to pursue a career in the medical field. She is also a natural leader with a strong commitment to service and community impact, all the while maintaining academic excellence. She is the founder of For the Girls Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting girls' needs, expanding access to essential resources, and creating empowering spaces for young women. Through her foundation, Chloe leads sponsorship outreach, event planning, volunteer coordination, and community partnerships for youth. Chloe is also part of the Dorothy Counts Scholars Mentorship Program. And for hobbies, Chloe enjoys journaling, going for walks, listening to music, playing softball, and spending time with friends. She thrives on staying active, being creative, and doing things that bring her joy. Chloe would like to thank the many staff members of Philip O'Berry who have supported her throughout her journey, and supporting this exceptional student here tonight is her family and the Philip O'Berry Academy of Technology team. Her mom, Jessica, is here, her grandmother and grandfather, Mr. and Mrs. Joyner, Janelle Moore, Ethan Moore, cousin, friend, Cheyenne Hobbs, aunt Jalicia Littlejohn, grandma, sister, Miss Littlejohn, and school counselor Don Slaughter, and principal Tanya Branham. Thank you to all those who support Chloe. Now, Chloe, will you please lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance and then share your essay on the topic of courage.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Today, I would like to speak to you on a word that grew up with me, courage. What does courage look like to you? Good evening. My name is Chloe Littlejohn, and that's what a question I want to start with. Because we often hear about the word courage, but do we really sit and think about what it means in our everyday lives? Some people picture courage as something huge or dramatic, but in reality, most of the time, it's quiet. It's hidden in our everyday choices. It's not about being fearless. It's about showing up when we fear still there. Courage is waking up, coming to school when your mind feels heavy. It's raising your hand even if you feel like you might be wrong. It's trying again after you fail, but still getting the courage to try up again. It's walking into new classes, meeting new people, facing challenges, and growing anyway. Every student shows courage every day. We learn even when it's hard. We write when we feel stuck. We balance life, emotion, and expectations and push ourselves forward. That's strength, that's bravery, and most important, that's courage. And spreading that message matters. When we talk about courage, we remind others of what we're capable of. Even when we show it, we inspire others. Even when we name it, even when we give people permission, it gives people the permission to be bold, to believe in themselves, and to keep moving forward. Now that's the power of courage. Courage is powerful, and every one of us in this room carries it. Thank you.
I now turn to Dr. Hill for the acknowledgement of our SOFG students.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. We are very excited to have high school students with us this evening. We have our 11th grade students and 12th grade students that have met for 11th grade at least 5 of their Goal 4 indicators, and our seniors have met at least 6 of their Goal 4 indicators. When I call your name, I'd ask that you hold your applause, and at the end, we'll give everyone a big round of applause. All right, Robert Acock from Butler High School, Ivory Chin, Military and Global Leadership Academy, Yamlet Alonzo Motel from East Mecklenburg High School, Kavesh Jinadad from Audrey Kell High School, Marissa Anderson, West Mecklenburg, Angeli Elias Torres from North Mecklenburg, Jacob Steedham from Audrey Kell, Jocelyn Kruger, South Mecklenburg, Kendra Elder, Harper Middle College, Nathan Supley, Hopewell High School, Caroline Husky, William Amos Huff High School, John Glubb, Audrey Kell High School, Colton Bell, Audrey Kell, Ramsai Pila, Audrey Kell, Tuan Gang from West Mecklenburg, Zahara White, Hopewell High School, Andrew Weber, William Amos Huff High School, Oliver Heller, East Mecklenburg, Maya Argueta from Butler High School, Jonathan Cooper, Mallard Creek, Aiden Bill, Independence, Amabel Petit Pina from Hopewell, Destiny Dennis, West Mecklenburg, Vijay Kupra, Providence High School, Mayank Pinde from Audrey Kell, Sideth Nagavali from Providence High School, Emmeline Lagos, West Mecklenburg, Shayem Jabapruta from Audrey Kell, Sydney Lamatra from Audrey Kell, and Camille Fambush from Audrey Kell. Congratulations to these students. At this time, I would like to recognize all the parents, family members, and staff who are here to support you. If you will please stand and be recognized. Again, we'd like to say a very special thank you for being here this evening. We are really excited about Goal 4. Later this evening, we'll be giving a Goal 4 report, but our Board of Education took a very bold step in saying they wanted to ensure that every student that graduated from Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools graduated either enrolled and enlisted or employed, and you all are well on your way. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening. You can go home and finish your homework.
Thank you guys. You can go right out here and meet them in the open area. Good job. You guys looked amazing. Good job. Great job. Good job. You were good when you started the trend. Did it exactly right. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Good job, guys. Proud of you. Congratulations.
problem, not mine. What do I care?
All right, board members, the next item, I'm gonna take a point of personal privilege. The next item would be the superintendent's report, as well as board reports. At the conclusion of the meeting, there will be final comments from our board members for those that are, this may be their last meeting, or it's the last opportunity to address the public. So I turn to Dr. Hill for your superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This week has been hard. There's not one member of our community that has not been impacted by the recent activity in our community. 140,000 students in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools approximately, and yesterday 21,000 were absent, which means about 120,000 students attended. I want to thank our students, parents, and members of the community for your communication with me over the last week. I appreciate your genuine care and concern for every student in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. During the last several days and weeks, I've been reminded of how precious and fragile human life is. I'm reminded that we as humans cannot ever lose sight of the sanctity of life. Every person is unique and special and deserves to be loved and respected. Of course, we have our differences. That is by design. But our strength is in our connectedness. The number one request I've received over the last few days is to transition to remote learning. We considered remote instruction, but determined this would not be the best course of action at this time. Please know there's not been any immigration enforcement activity on CMS school campuses, and we have not received any notice that such actions are planned. In our decision, we considered the following. CMS offers universal breakfast to all students. A large number of our students depend on CMS for breakfast and lunch daily. Loving and caring adults, such as our principals, teachers, social workers, and counselors, engage with thousands of students daily, providing services that are not available in a remote setting. Going remote may address one concern, but there are multiple unintended consequences. Thousands of students without breakfast or lunch, thousands of students that don't have access to school-based caring adults like a teacher, counselor, social worker to support those who have experienced or been exposed to what is happening in our community or other life circumstances. Thousands of parents would not be able to go to work to support their families because they depend on CMS to provide education for their children during the day. Hundreds of our employees, such as our bus drivers, monitors, and school nutrition employees, may not get paid because there is no alternative work for them. And in the midst of chaos, the stability that CMS offers would be closed for business. So we made the difficult decision to remain in person while being strategic in the supports that we provide to all families whenever children are absent from school. Last year, I talked a lot about the word distraction, and I felt led to revisit this word. Distraction means to draw away or divert as the mind or attention, an extreme agitation of the mind, to separate or divide by dissension or strife. Friends and neighbors of Mecklenburg County, we have been distracted. Sometimes we have no control over what happens to us, but we can 100% control our response. I would like to thank every leader in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. No one has any earthly idea how hard you work, how much coordination of efforts it takes, and the intestinal fortitude that is required to stand strong, stay focused, and make progress on our Board of Education's laser focus on student outcomes, which of course is reflective of the visions and values of our community. Our CMS leadership team, you do this on a normal day, and this week has not been normal. Yet you have maintained your commitment to deliver excellence without exception. To our employees, your dedication shapes the future of every student we serve. Thank you for making a difference each and every day, no matter what comes your way. And speaking of dedication, on this evening, when we have several board members that there will be their last time sitting at this dais, I would like to say thank you so much for your continued support. We have accomplished so much work together, historic gains for academic outcomes for students, the largest bond in state history, the third fully funded budget in recent history, and the list goes on and on. So thank you very much to Board Member Thelma Byers-Bailey, who was our longest tenured board member of 12 years, Lisa Klein, Melissa Easley, and Summer Nunn for your dedication and service to the students and staff of Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. I'd also like to say congratulations to Board Chair Sneed and Vice Chair Rankin on their reelection. As we move forward in the days ahead, I believe the CMS community must renew our commitment to the mission, vision, core values, goals, and guardrails that our Board of Education has set for us. This is the only way that we will ensure endless possibilities for our students and a brighter future for Mecklenburg County. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you. Board members, I turn to you for your board reports. Our outgoing members, you'll have 2 bites at the apple.
You'll have an opportunity to speak as well as any conclusory remarks that you would like to address as well. So any other board members for board reports at this time? Board Member Monterey Duval.
Thank you, Chair. It's been a really tough couple of days for the community. I just want to thank all the people supporting our schools in the yellow vests and the people that have reached out and just wrapped their arms around this community. It's never made me believe more in humanity than I have with the quick response that we've had. And I want to say when things like this happen, there's emotion and we get scared and we want to do things that feel good in the moment, but we're not thinking, and we're not thinking about the long term and the consequences. And I want you to know that's why you elected me. That's what I'm doing. So please trust that we have the best interests of our students. Our students are the safest in our schools. We are ready to protect our students in any way that we can. That's what we're trained for. That's what we do. So please equip with it. I believe also that parents have the right to do what they feel is right for their children. So please equip yourself with the right policies that will protect students and parents. So not protect students and parents, but that will guide them. And those have been communicated in the communications that the district has sent several times. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I've been speaking to people in the community, families that are hard to reach sometimes, that feel afraid, and they want to take their kids to school. They want their kids to be educated. We want our kids to be educated. And it feels like they don't want our kids to be educated. It feels like they don't want our kids to go to school for a reason. So if you have issues or need help, reach out, because you have a whole community behind you. And same thing to the advocates. Be our ally, not our adversary. If you flood our emails, we are not able to address urgent family matters. Please work with us. And that concludes my board report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other, Board Member Byers Bailey, and then board membership.
Good evening. I love visiting our schools. I love visiting all the schools in CMS, and whenever I receive an invitation, it breaks my heart when I'm not able to accept it. Last year, I received this invitation and I wasn't available, but this year I had the awesome opportunity to attend Independence High School Native American Heritage Celebration. And if anybody ever gets a chance to try a collard green sandwich, be sure to take it. It is delicious. But that was a new one for me. But the celebration was so endearing. One of the students had written a book, and she autographed a copy of it for me. I saw some native dances. It was just great. Everything about it was new to me. I had been to a powwow before, but nothing like this. And I thoroughly enjoyed, and I highly recommend anytime. I think it's an annual celebration for them, but be sure to make it if you can.
Board Member Ship.
Good evening. I just want to share with you something that I found from Maya Angelou during International Day for Tolerance, and this really stuck with me. Today we honor the spirit of understanding, acceptance, and compassion. In a world of differences, tolerance is not merely endurance, it is love in action. It is choosing respect over judgment, peace over pride, and empathy over fear. We are all more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. Let us celebrate our shared humanity and work towards a world where every voice is heard and every soul is valued. And this is a time when we really think deeply about that, because no one is insignificant. It is bigger than me, bigger than you. bigger than all of us, as Beyonce said in The Lion King. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? And we continue to work together for the betterment of all our children in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, because it will take us all to ensure that every child feels safe, nurtured, and gets the best education possible here in CMS. And I will continue going into my 40 years to do just that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our student advisor, Lucy Silverstein, also has a comment.
Yes, so basically my role as the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools student advisor is to speak up on behalf of students, to be their representative. So I've written this report on behalf of them to ensure that they all feel heard. From what I've seen in the last couple of days, the atmosphere in our schools has felt different, almost like a quiet tension hanging in the air. Some hallways that are normally loud and full of life have felt unusually still. Some schools even had walkouts, and almost 21,000 students stayed home on Monday. That is 15% of our students. And while the ICE activity only started a few days ago, the impact on students was immediate. I want to be clear. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools has been compassionate and transparent. The district has put out information right away about how immigrant enforcement is handled on campus. And I know that there are limits to what CMS can do realistically in a situation like this. No one expects the district to fix this federal operation overnight. But what I'm hearing both directly from students and from what they're seeing in attendance and on the news is that kids are scared. They're worried about getting to school, worried about what's happening at home, and worried about things that no student should have to think about during a math or English class. So the questions that students keep asking is simple. How do they know that they're safe? How do we reassure kids who are afraid to walk out the front door? How do we make school feel steady when everything outside feels unpredictable? Thank you.
Vice Chair Rankin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I wanted to say to our students, our families, and our staff that who I feel have been treated unjustly. I see you, I feel you, you are seen. And I just want to make sure that you're clear that an injustice to one is injustice to all. And inequity to one is inequity to all. And I'm here to fight for you every day to ensure that we as a board would create a framework to where you are safe. And if you need assistance, if you don't understand what our practices and policies are of how we're going to keep you safe, don't hesitate to reach out to your principal or a staff member. And I would also implore to our community members, check on your neighbors, make sure they're okay, because we want to make sure that's what we've been charged to do. So I just want to say we see you and we feel you. And lastly, this is my first time since November election. I just want to thank all the district members of District 3, all the 18,000 plus that voted for me. Thank you for entrusting me to be able to continue to work for you, and I'm going to continue to do that. So thank you.
Later. It's up to you. Okay.
So good evening, everybody. This is actually my last official board meeting. And there's one thing I want to address before I get into my last board report and my pleasantries and charges for next is this week is very strange. I think the most telling moment is when I was in the car with my third grader, who is in a CMS school, trying to explain to her why ICE and Border Patrol is here and why there were landscapers grabbed in our neighborhood when they were just doing their job. And when you try to explain to a third grader what is happening now, you realize there's no right answer and it's just wrong. So that's all I'm going to say. If what's happening in this country you can't explain to a third grader, then it's wrong. So with that, I'm going to go into my last board report. I stepped into this role 3 years ago, not as a politician, but as a corporate executive and a mom with 2 children in CMS, believing that public education is not only worth fighting for, but requires people willing to stand in the arena even when it costs them something. Tonight, as I close this chapter, I want to speak from the same place of truth. To my husband and my mother, thank you for carrying the invisible weight of service. But to my husband especially, you carried more than most people will ever know. You carried the late nights, the missed dinners, the constant juggling, the emotional aftermath of the hardest days in this work. You created a space for me to serve when it meant you had to stretch yourself even thinner, and you never once asked me to stop, even when it could have made your life easier. To my children, Charleston and Sawyer, you've always been my why. You didn't choose this role. You lived the impact of it. And I know there were nights where you wanted me home sooner. I know there were mornings why you wondered why I cared so deeply about challenges bigger than us. But that was always for you. Every vote, every decision, every difficult moment, your faces were in my mind. I did this for you and because of you. Over these years, we've seen real progress. A new superintendent who's been here longer than the last 7 already. Strong leadership alignment from that superintendent and her cabinet. New schools opening in District 6 with a historic $2.5 billion bond and a lot more to go. Academic recovery after a once-in-a-century pandemic, and a 5-year strategic plan that was shaped by more than 60,000 members of this community. Our students are rising, and CMS is rising with them. But I must speak honestly, hope alone isn't a strategy, and progress without investment or structural change is not sustainable. We have done the work here in CMS. We have created the roadmap. We have moved the data, but we are still not giving our children the resources they deserve today in this country, in this county, in this state, in this city. We must acknowledge that operational strain we carry because the comprehensive review has not been complete. It's going to be hard, necessary work for balancing boundaries, feeder patterns, magnet alignment, but it was not completed by boards of the past, and it's the work that this next board is going to have to take up. And that's costing us. Outdated boundaries, misaligned magnets, unbalanced enrollment, long, inefficient routes remain barriers of efficiency and equality across this county. This is big work, it's complex, and it's uncomfortable. But until it's done, CMS will continue operating on a structure that no longer reflects the realities of our growth and our families in this county. And that strain shows up every day. Like many parents, I've watched my own son's bus arrive at least twice a week late to school simply because we don't have enough bus drivers to operate a transportation system that moves over 100,000 students every single day. District 6 families feel this deeply. Charlotte's growth has outpaced the infrastructure that supports our children. So when the recent transportation tax passed without CMS included in its plan, it wasn't just a technical oversight. It was a missed opportunity to place children at the center of Charlotte's vision for our future. And now that that tax has passed, we cannot afford to leave CMS transportation out again. Our children deserve to arrive to school on time, not to carry the consequences of an underfunded system. And we cannot talk about strain without acknowledging the backbone of CMS, our teachers. State funding has not kept pace with expectations, rising costs, or the weight we place on them. Today, a CMS teacher can drive 5 to 22 minutes into South Carolina and make more money. We cannot build world-class outcomes on budget class compensation. We cannot say we value teachers while paying them less in real dollars as inflation rises. We cannot expect excellence without investing in the people who deliver it. We also cannot ignore the injustices affecting our families here in Charlotte, especially the fear, disruption, and instability caused by recent increase in Border Patrol and ICE presence. These actions do more than just impact adults. They impact children sitting in our classrooms, often silently carrying trauma and uncertainty. And our schools feel that deeply. Through all this, leadership and stability matter. For District 6, I want to acknowledge my support of Anna London, who will be stepping into this role. I'm grateful for her willingness to serve, and I'm confident she will lead with compassion, integrity, and commitment. District 6 is gaining a strong advocate, and I will support her fully as she steps into the work. So tonight, to our city and county leaders, policymakers, and anyone who proudly calls Charlotte world-class, I offer this challenge. Frederick Douglass said, "It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Barack Obama reminded us, a budget is more than a series of numbers on a page. It embodies our values. If Charlotte can lead in banking, sports, development, entertainment, innovation, and global business attraction, we must also lead in how we invest in our children. Because no skyline, no stadium, no convention center, and no headline will ever outperform what happens inside a classroom. The world already knows what Charlotte builds. It must see what Charlotte believes. To Dr. Hill and her cabinet, thank you for bringing stability, urgency, and focus. To my board colleagues, thank you for serving in one of the most difficult and misunderstood roles in public service. To every teacher, principal, counselor, bus driver, and support employee, you are the heartbeat of CMS. Nothing moves, nothing changes, nothing improves without you. As I transition out of this seat, I remain inspired by what this country is built on: determination, resilience, innovation, and promise. We have started momentum, but momentum must turn into courage. So to this next board, I offer this: move faster, dream bigger, push harder, ask bolder questions, and never let politics outweigh students. This is my final charge I offer you. The question is no longer whether Charlotte can afford to invest more in its children. The question is whether we're willing to prove that we value them as much as we say we do. Budgets tell the truth, even when words don't. Thank you for the honor to serve you all.
Any other?
Are we just gonna do it now?
You can do it now or later.
I mean, mine's more than 2 minutes, so do you want me to do it later?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll just do it now. Okay. Go ahead, Liz. Lisa, go. Okay. Tonight marks my final board report as your District 1 representative, and I want to speak plainly and honestly from a place that has grounded me every single day I've served here, the classroom. I came into the seat as a veteran CMS teacher, and I never forgot that, not for a moment. I stay connected to classrooms, the realities, the struggle, the brilliance, the burnout, and the hope that educators carry every single morning. Every vote I cast, every question I asked, every time I pushed a little harder than some people preferred came from that truth, regardless of what people say. I have shown time and time again that I will not sit quietly when something doesn't sit right. I will stand up and fight for what is right, and I will make no apology for that. These years have been challenging, rewarding, frustrating, and full of moments that remind me why this work matters. I've watched teachers rise again and again for kids. I've watched families advocate for courage. I've watched LGBTQ students, teachers, and staff push to be seen and valued. I've worked every day to make sure this district did not leave them behind. And I've also witnessed incredible progress in CMS, stronger academic outcomes, expanding arts programs, historic increases, teacher supplements, and new schools opening across the district. The largest bond passed in CMS history, and real investments in student mental health and safety. The work from CMS is far from perfect, but there is real good happening, and I've been very proud to be part of it. But I've also seen how easy it is up here to drift away from what's actually happening in the classrooms. How quickly conversations shift to politics or headlines or personalities instead of the real work we do. When teachers and educators become the target instead of the focus, when their professionalism is questioned, and when their lived experience is brushed aside, it's the students who pay the price. And I want to say this very clearly. Teachers and educators, you must stay engaged. Stay vocal, stay present. You make a difference in this district, but only if you use your voice. Silence has never protected anyone. Speak at board meetings, email, call, meet with board members, hold us accountable for our actions or inactions. You have more power than you believe. And criticism is not an attack, regardless of what some may think. When it's rooted in care and experience, criticism is how systems improve. It should not be dismissed, vilified, or shut down. It is only open dialogue with all stakeholders that lead to genuine improvement. We cannot strengthen a distance if we're silenced when people are doing the work inside. Part of why the teacher voice so matters is because I've watched it slowly get squeezed out of places it used to thrive. I'm talking specifically about STAC and FAC, the Student Advisory Council and the Superintendent Teacher Advisory Council and the Faculty Advisory Council. These were not only once formal spaces where teacher could speak honestly and happening in the classroom and get real problems solved right there in the people in the room. As someone who has spent time in leadership of both, I can tell you these weren't just representatives. These were problem solvers, with institutional knowledge the district relied on. Over the last 3 years, those structures have weakened. Meetings, once long enough to real dialogue, were reduced to minutes. Access to leadership was narrowed, and even teacher recognitions, like Teacher of the Year process, were taken out of teachers' hands. Teachers voting for teachers meant something. Losing that was deeply felt. The restructuring of was the decision of district leadership, and I urge leadership to take a look at the process and rebuild it with teachers, not around them. And to the incoming board members, it is your responsibility to ensure that school-level educators have a real voice. Restore democratic bylaws, restore teacher majority, restore enough time for meaningful discussions, and restore direct access to people who can actually fix the problem. Teachers in CMS must, the voice in teachers in CMS must grow, not shrink. And while the erosion of the teacher voice has happened gradually, we now face a separate crisis unfolding in real time. I spent Monday morning driving through East and North Charlotte communities and visiting schools to make sure that families saw support in person, because what I saw was heartbreaking. ICE activity is not just for families at home, it follows children into the classroom. Attendance jumped. Lack of attendance jumped from usual 10 to 15,000 absences to nearly 30,000 in one day. That's not just data, that's fear. And I am urging our board and district leadership to act. Offer a remote option to family who request it without penalty. The work collaboratively with Carolina Migrant Network and other entities that are creating safe spaces, transparent, compassionate communication. Schools must remain safe for all students. To our immigrant families, I see you, I value, and I will continue to fight for you no matter where I sit. To our CMS staff and board staff, many of you I knew long before I ever sat here. We rotated roles. I was a teacher, you were APs, principals, directors, and leaders. Thank you for your steadiness, your honesty, your long nights, your historical knowledge, and your patience. You have carried this district through more than any the public will ever see, and I have always appreciated you deeply. To the community who supported me, who read the Chalk Talk, who emailed, who called, who showed up, who pushed through for compassion and transparency, thank you. Do not let your voice go silent now. Stay informed, stay connected, stay loud. Public education depends on you showing up. I also want to say publicly that I will not be here for the December meeting. First Word Creative Arts has their holiday show, and over the past few years, I have missed my daughter's performances because they always fell on board nights. Tuesday, December 9th is her next concert, and I will not miss my daughter again. To the incoming board members and those continuing, I hope you never have to choose between your family and your role, but if you do, choose your family. I cannot close without thanking my own family, my husband, Jeff, my children, Alex and DJ. Your support, your patience, your sacrifices, and your love made it possible for me to do this work. The long nights, the events, the meetings, the tears, the stress, you carried all of that with me. We did this together, and I love you all more than you could know. Serving on the board has been one of the greatest honors of my life, not because it was easy, it wasn't. It was because it allowed me to stand up for people who don't often have a microphone in rooms like this. I leave tonight with gratitude, clarity, and the pride in the work that I've done. My advocacy does not end tonight, my voice does not end tonight, and my belief in public educations, in teachers, students, families, absolutely does not end tonight. To anyone that has ever felt unseen in the system, I saw you, I fought for you, and I will continue to fight, just in a different seat. To the community, stay engaged. To the board, stay grounded. To our families, stay connected. And our teachers, stay in the fight. You are the fight. Keep choosing courage over comfort, keep choosing people over politics, and keep choosing compassion over convenience. Our children deserve nothing less. Thank you for the honor.
Good evening. First, I want to thank my husband and children for supporting me for the past 3 years. And I also want to thank my fellow board members and the dedicated staff for the last 3 years. A great deal has been accomplished. We've talked about it. But in that time, again, a new superintendent was selected, new SOFG goals were established. We've moved forward with a significant bond package that was approved by the public, and new boundaries were adopted, just to name a few. Most important, restored stability and leadership. And that stability led to the growth we saw last year. My hope and my expectation is that this momentum continues in the years ahead. CMS is a long ways from where it needs to be, but signs indicate we have started the process of moving forward. The district has a positive direction for improvement, but that cannot occur without parents and students buying in. I want to encourage parents to be more involved in what and how their children are learning in school. The board operates under a governance model, meaning that they are not involved in the day-to-day operations of the schools. but I caution parents not to abdicate this power totally to the schools. Parents, I implore you to lean into your child's education. Be more involved in what and how your children are learning. Like parents here tonight, Ross Glenn and J.C. Schaefer, who are supporting their children. If you don't think that they're being challenged, talk to the teacher, talk to the principal or whomever, but make sure your child is getting the instruction and education they deserve. The leadership wants to see improvement in all children, therefore they will do what is necessary to do so, but they need you at the table. A one-size curriculum for students does not meet the needs of all children. We talk of diversity, then let's allow diversity in how we teach. Let's give our educators the flexibility to think creatively, to innovate, and to adapt instruction in ways that reach every learner. When we do this, families will once again see CMS as their first choice, not their fallback. We may be the 16th largest school district in the nation, but we need to be the #1 choice for parents in Charlotte, in particular District 5, not the second or third choice. Congressman Jim Jordan once stated, the only public role tougher than being a congressman is that of a school board member. So to my fellow school board members, you are put in these valuable positions because parents trust you to do the right and honorable thing for their children. Board members are not elected to help their friends on the board or in administration. The students must come first. I also ask you to look within yourself and find the courage to say something if it doesn't seem right and not to go along with everyone else. Lack of challenges or diversity in thought is akin to a dystopian society. Now, my advocacy of 45 years does not end tonight. It just simply shifts into a new chapter. My whys will always be the students, the parents, and the teachers. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you, board members, for those comments, and as indicated or stated earlier this evening, each and every one of you brought your talents and your gifts and your passion to your role in serving not this board, but serving the students and the families of Mecklenburg County. And they will forever be indebted to you for that. But I do want to take less than 2 minutes to talk about what I've experienced on the past couple of days. So the past 2 mornings, I spent time driving around to the schools on the east side and to be present, to welcome students and families, and to stand with a community that's been deeply impacted by the enforcement activity that's been taking place in our community. And yes, that was me out there, along with others, intentionally showing up because we know that the fear is real. You can feel it in the quiet moments of drop-off, in the hesitation at the curb, in the way that parents hold on, as I witnessed, to their children just a little bit longer before letting them go. And an image that sticks with me when I was at Charlotte East Language Academy during their morning drop-off was some children raising the American flag. It stopped me in my tracks. It was sobering because the children were lifting that flag with such innocence and pride, even as the adults around them and other children carry so much weight and worry. And yes, it was me out there watching them along with the other administrators from Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, and we all were just stood there in silence, and we were reminded of both the promise of this country and the fragility of trust within our communities. I had to take that picture. But my heart was also full because without naming the locations, throughout the community, I witnessed parents, neighbors, community leaders, retired education stationed on street corners and along major thoroughfares. And it was me, along with all the others, seeing them with appreciation, signaling support, ready to walk with the families, ready to make sure our children entered school safely. They weren't there for recognition. They were out there with love, protection, and solidarity. So seeing all that reaffirmed something for me. This is who we are, a community that stands up, a community that stands together, and a community that stands for our children. At a time when fear is being amplified, our responsibility as leaders is to amplify safety, compassion, and humanity. Our schools must remain places where every child and every family feels seen, protected, and welcomed. And so what I leave you with today is we have to dispel any differences that believe that is otherwise. Because every person sitting at this dais, the leader of this district, her administrative staff, her teachers, or our teachers, I should say, our bus drivers, our front desk staff are all standing in solidarity to do all that we can in the tough decisions we have to make sure that every family feels seen, protected, and welcome. So that being said, that concludes our board comments, our board reports for this evening. Board members, you've been provided the consent agenda items in advance. Is there such a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented?
I move.
It's been properly moved by Board Member Klein, second by Schiff. All those in favor by show of hands. Madam Clerk, is unanimous. Next, we have our public engagement. Next, I turn to Dr. Hill for principal appointments, personnel appointments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This evening, we are pleased to announce that Molly Aldridge will be the new principal at Blythe Elementary School. Ms. Aldridge is currently serving as the principal at Old Providence Elementary, and she's also served as the assistant principal at Dilworth Elementary School. Next, we have Francois Hill, no relationship to Crystal Hill. He is the new principal at Statesville Road Elementary School. Mr. Hill has 13 years of experience and is currently serving as the assistant principal at Still Creek Elementary. He's also been the dean of instruction at Huntingtown Farms Elementary School. Next, we have Marvin Moore, who will be the new principal at Philip O. Berry Academy of Technology. Mr. Moore has 25 years of experience in education. He's currently serving as the principal at Salisbury High School and has also served as the principal at Eisenberg Elementary School. Next, we have Courtney Pierce. Courtney Pierce will be the new principal at Polo Ridge Elementary School. Ms. Pierce has 18 years of experience, and she is currently serving as the assistant principal at Providence Spring Elementary School, and she's also served as the dean of students at Sedgefield Middle School. And finally, we have Dr. Emily Miles, who will be the new assistant superintendent of Elementary School Performance Area C. Dr. Miles has 22 years of experience. She's currently serving as the executive director for the Office of School Performance in another elementary performance area. She served as the principal at Montclair and Sterling Elementary School, as well as a teacher and literacy facilitator at Winding Springs, Pinewood, and Sterling. Congratulations to these individuals this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. We have our first reading for modifications to policy S-TECH, technology acceptable use. I turn to Vice Chair D. Rankin as the chair of the policy committee.
Madam Chair, this is the first reading of the proposed modifications to policy S-TECH, technology acceptable use, some of which are required pursuant to Session Law 2025-38. The modifications include an introductory paragraph outlining the board's intent adopting the policy, a revised definition section that includes statutorily required language of what a wireless communication device is, new language addressing limitations on CMS network use to protect student safety and safeguard student information as required by statute, statutorily required limitations on the use of wireless communication devices during instructional time, as well as the board's expectation for their use during non-instructional time by CMS students. The board's expectations regarding how employees and volunteers communicate with students via text or social media, a provision specifying that confiscation of a wireless communication device may be consequence of a violation of the policy, and a requirement that the superintendent submit a copy of this policy to the NC Department of Public Instruction whenever it is revised. If approved by the board, all proposed changes will take effect on January 1, 2026. The policy committee met and considered these modifications at our November 10th, 2025 meeting and voted to recommend fast-track approval by the full board.
I turn to Vice Chair D. Rankin for the first reading of modifications to policy B-BPP and Exhibit B-BPP/E policy, board policy process.
Madam Chair, this is the first reading of the proposed modifications to policy B-BPP and Exhibit B-BPPE board policy process. These proposed revisions establish a clear process for considering proposed policy changes. The modifications include clarifying the definitions of bylaw, policy, exhibit, and regulation, revising the procedure for initiating a proposed policy change, including the process by which a proposed policy change is drafted, how the proposed policy change is added to the policy committee agenda, and clarifying the expectations of the policy administrator, requiring the superintendent to submit a regulation change order form for all regulation modifications. The policy committee met and considered these modifications at our November 10th, 2025 meeting and voted to recommend approval by the full board.
I turn to Vice Chair D. Rankin as Chair of the Policy Committee for the first reading of modifications to policy B-POL political activity.
Madam Chair, this is the first reading of the proposed modifications to policy B-POL political activity. The modifications include the state superintendent of public instruction may visit schools during school hours. The superintendent or their designee may approve requests of elected officials to visit during school hours. No candidate or elected official may be granted permission to visit a school during the calendar year of their election except for members of the Board of Education or the state superintendent. Requests for visits outside of school hours must be made in accordance with the Board Policy O-CUF, Community Use of Schools, and its accompanying regulation. Candidates, elected officials, or their surrogates may not distribute any materials on CMS property at any CMS-sponsored event except for what is allowed by North Carolina electioneering laws. The Policy Committee met and considered these modifications at our November 10th, 2025 meeting and voted to recommend approval by the full board.
I turn to Vice Chair D. Rankin as Chair of the Policy Committee for the first reading of modifications to Exhibit S-COMM/E, Community Participation Vetting Approval.
Madam Chair, this is the first reading of the proposed modifications to Exhibit S-COMM/E, Community Participation Vetting/Approval. The modifications include updating the approval process for community events to make the superintendent or their designee the person who vets the event and provides notice of their decision, clarifying that notice of the decision regarding an event will be provided in writing to the requester, adding language stating that board policy S-SCOM provides the process by which any appeals will be addressed. The Policy Committee met and considered these modifications at our November 10th, 2025 meeting and voted to recommend approval by the full board.
The public hearing for modifications to policy S-TECH, technology acceptable use. Since there are no speakers for this hearing, I now declare that this public hearing closed. Public comments for this evening. The rules are as follows. Only speakers who have timely signed up for the public comment are eligible to speak. Speakers are not permitted to read statements or speak on behalf of someone else. Responses to questions or engagement between speakers and the board or individual board members do not take place during this comment period. Each speaker will be called to speak one at a time. Each speaker will have a maximum of 2 minutes to address the board. Each speaker may speak on any topic of their choice, except individual student or personnel matters, since these matters are confidential and not appropriate for public comment. For these matters, the board encourages you to contact the appropriate department, staff member, or our board office. Speakers are encouraged to share comments or criticisms, but should avoid personal attacks, accusations, threats, and insults. Speakers should also refrain from revealing students' names or sharing personal addresses, emails, or any other identifying information. Profanity or other inappropriate language will not be allowed. The board reserves the right to cut off any speaker who violates these rules. As I'll call your name, please approach the podium, and please speak in the order that you are called. The first speaker for this evening is Violet Salome. The second speaker is Ella Shaler. Violet or Ella. The third speaker for this evening is Charlotte Marston. All right. The fourth speaker is Wortham Cone. The next speaker is Bubba Hall. Leah Wade. All right. I begin.
Greetings to the Board of Education members, Dr. Hill, and leadership. I am Dr. Leah Wade, the School Psychology Program Manager. Today, I speak before you to highlight the work of school psychologists in our district, professionals who stand at the intersection of education and mental health, ensuring every student has the opportunity to thrive. This year, we proudly honored the School Psychologist of the Year, Lori Zalins. Mrs. Zalins is a trailblazer who has integrated new assessment practices to support students in themed educational settings and supports an intern from Appalachian State University to shape the next generation of school psychologists. This year's theme of The Path Forward reminds us of our shared mission, empowering students by addressing challenges and fostering success. School psychologists live this mission every day through their dedication and expertise. We are laser focused on current trends to support student wellness by promoting academic achievement. This work occurs through evaluations, counseling sessions, crisis prevention and response to ensure safety and stability for all students. Psychologists are here, especially during times as this. Looking ahead, we're thrilled that the National Association of School Psychologists National Convention will be hosted in 2027 here in Charlotte. This convention will showcase our commitment to excellence, provide opportunities for recruitment, and showcase innovative work in our field. So please consider this informal invitation to join us at NASS in 2027. And finally, as a proud West Charlotte graduate, I'm here to stay committed in the community, and thank you for listening to the work that we do.
Ross Glenn.
Did I push it? Okay. Good evening, school board members and community members. Thank you all for your time this evening. My name is Ross Glenn. I'm here to talk about recess during the day, during the school day. We are asking you, the elected members of the school board, to fix two things and change two different things. The first thing we're asking to be fixed, start the clock for recess when kids are on the playground. I discovered by asking questions of our school administrators that the 30-minute clock for recess starts when students leave their classrooms. In practice, this means walking, using the bathroom in our case, and even in our case, having snack, all reduce the 30-minute block of recess to something more like 12 minutes, based on my estimates. The recess clock should start when recess starts, just like the approach to instructional time. The second thing we're asking to be fixed, provide adequate indoor facilities for recess that allow for true physical activity on inclement weather days. Staying indoors in the classroom is not cutting it on these days when weather is less than perfect. Indoor recess time has been known to include computer games, homework, etc. While these activities are fine in moderation, the point is they're not moving their bodies, the students, after sitting all day. Recess is a time to release excess energy and interact with their peers in an unstructured setting. Two things we're asking to change is substantially increase recess time. According to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Youth Recess Survey from 2021, approximately 43% of teens reported not doing some regular activities during the past year because they felt sad or hopeless for more than 2 weeks. That's an increase from 29% in 2013. Approximately 75% of teens reported spending 3 more hours on a screen. Gen Z's higher rates of depression and anxiety have been linked to the lack of social development. That's clear. We provide nutritious breakfast, lunch, guidance, counseling, etc. The children should also have access to adequate unstructured peer-to-peer time for social interaction. Thank you.
Thank you. J.C. Schaefer?
Oh, thank you. Hi, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is J.C. Schaefer. I am a mom to 2 children in a CMS elementary school and one still at home. And I wanted to raise awareness about the Say Yes to Recess movement, which started in Tennessee. There was a group of moms that recognized that their kids were getting 15 minutes of recess during the entire school day, which was less than even workers in their state were given for a break. So they were able to help change the law in Tennessee to advocate for 40 minutes of recess with a goal of at least 60 minutes of recess a day. What's really wonderful is they used research out of TCU, something called the Link study, that proved that this extended recess had so many benefits for the children. I think intuitively we all know that more movement is better for children, but the fear might come from taking away from instructional minutes. And what they found was that test scores improved in reading and math when kids were allowed more time to play. There was a 40% reduction in off-task behavior in the classroom, which is incredibly substantial. I know as a substitute at the preschool level and being a volunteer in a CMS school, when you take children outside, it's like a reset button for them. They come back into the classroom and they're ready to learn and to engage. Again, my goal here today is just to bring awareness to this national movement. There are 17 states that are starting a Say Yes to Recess movement, so if it's something we could consider, I'd love for CMS to be on the front end of this initiative, really taking this research into consideration, learn more about the TCU Link study and how beneficial this can be for all children in supporting their social and emotional health, the well-being of the whole child. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lorraine Zelens?
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be able to speak with you all today. My name is Lorraine Zelens, and this is my 29th year supporting students and families within the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. I'm grateful for the chance to speak tonight to recognize the meaningful work that school psychologists do each and every day. School psychologists help students navigate challenges, discover their strengths, and believe in their potential. We support both the learning and the emotional well-being of students. We partner with teachers, families, and administrators to provide guidance, interventions, and strategies that help students succeed academically, socially, and emotionally. For me, the most rewarding part of this work is helping students grow in their confidence and truly learn to believe in themselves. As I often tell students, challenges don't limit us, they strengthen us. Even when faced with obstacles, I want each student to understand that there are still so many bright possibilities ahead for them. Watching students embrace that mindset is what makes this work so meaningful. Thank you for your ongoing support and for truly valuing the impact that school psychologists make every day.
Thank you. Roxana Myrie.
Good evening. My name is Roxana Myrie. First of all, I wanted to say an appreciation to you, Dr. Hill, and the school board for all you do. Speaking here today, my topic is being concerned about the upcoming federal and state cuts and how they will affect Charlotte Title I schools. How can the community support you in getting the assistance you need? Are you possibly looking at corporate sponsorship? Understaffed classrooms, paying teachers a living wage, cuts to specialist positions, federal and state cuts are going to jeopardize teacher training and professional development opportunities. The elimination of programs like pre-K and after-school support. What will be the impact of federal and state budget cuts on our schools? Looking ahead, the possibility of understaffed classrooms and cuts to specialist positions would be very harmful, especially in terms of the many ways children learn. A specialist can hone in on those areas which need support and assist the child in the development as well as understanding. Many specialists support students across different schools, and federal funds will be cut. The Charlotte teachers have TAs in each school, but each teacher does not have a full-time TA. Further cuts will definitely have a negative impact on staff as well as classrooms. Federal and state cuts are going to jeopardize teacher training and professional development opportunities. The district would have to find ways to cover budget shortfalls, potentially leading to difficult financial decisions. Paying teachers a living wage should not be optional. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Cooper.
Good evening. I'm Laura Cooper. I am speaking on behalf of both the Charlotte-Mecklenburg and the statewide League of Women Voters. Both of these groups have strong education teams. We are here tonight to echo many of the sentiments spoken by your board members tonight, especially those who are departing. Our students are not getting the resources they need and deserve, and the root cause of this is the North Carolina General Assembly. They are shortchanging not only CMS students, but the public school students all across the state. We know our state has ranked 27th in per pupil funding in 2011 has dropped to 48th. We know that our teacher pay has now dropped to 43rd. And every single state that surrounds us pays teachers much better. We also know that there are scheduled state income tax cuts that will be creating in the next years and the next second year after that, a precipitous drop in state revenues, and there will be even less money for our public schools. So the North Carolina legislature needs to hear our demand. We need a state budget, we're the only state without one, that increases teacher pay and ends the underfunding of our public schools. We need your help. I would like to suggest 2 ways. There is a document called the North Carolina Resolves for Fully Funded Public Education. I'll be happy to share with you access to that document, and so that you can ask friends, family, business colleagues, anyone who lives anywhere in North Carolina to read the resolves and sign them. The second thing, I'll tell you later. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bill Fountain.
Good evening, fellow citizens. I'm Bill Fountain. I have 2 quick items. First one is to congratulations to Dr. Charlotte Hatch for her victory for District 1. She's a capable and gracious person, and I really enjoyed my conversation with her father about faith, family, and about God's providence and how it shows up in our lives. The second thing is that the voters clearly chose board members who embrace the diversity, equity, and inclusion ideology. Now, I disagree with this ideology for a variety of reasons, but I'm going to just give you 4 quick ones. The first one is that the DEI is an antithesis of safe, disciplined classrooms, merit-based academics, and the character virtue formation. Second is that parents are continuing to search for schools where their family values are upheld and for where their discipline is enforced. The third thing is the DEI ideology is an anti-Christian because it judges people based on their group identity and not by the individual's actions. And it affirms, I think, sinful activities contrary to God's will, like LGBTQ. As you know, Jesus doesn't condemn us, he condemns, we condemn ourselves based on our actions, or our choices. And the last one is the 4, is that CMS is continuing to spend millions of dollars on the outside DEI and SEL consultants and partnerships. And these groups, I'm sure they're happy to be able to continue to to be able to draw taxpayer dollars, and while the outcomes of the student are not that good because they're far below where they should be. Thank you for your time.
Rebecca Costas.
I have taught multilingual learners in CMS for 17 years. Right now, my students and their families are in distress. Yesterday, my colleagues and I delivered food to our families, and most were too afraid to answer their door. They'd finally peek through the curtain when we said, "Your teachers are here." They told us they're scared and thankful to those who are supporting them. I and many others stood before you 3 months ago and asked you to get in front of this eventuality. I cannot overstate the terror that these families are experiencing, and the communication thus far, including a video recorded only in English, has not provided evidence that the district understands its severity. We understand your reasoning not to go to distance learning, but our students are worried about accruing unexcused absences, and some have little to no work provided for them online. We still need specific safety protocols. When ICE is patrolling or conducting kidnappings near school grounds, which is taking place, or they enter a campus, we still have no school crisis plan. When do we go on lockdown? When does admin notify teachers and parents? We need to inform families of their rights and provide a list of the most immediate community resources. Please seek direct collaboration with the groups providing them. We still need resources and training specific to this trauma for counselors and ML teachers. And ML teachers still have not heard anything from from our LLA district leaders. We have an entire department devoted solely to serving the students impacted by this crisis, and the executive director has not reached out to acknowledge that her teachers are navigating tumultuous waters and her students are afraid to come to school. In our weekly update from the LLA department yesterday, it was business as usual, absolutely no expression of concern or solidarity. I have no words to describe the disappointment and lack of confidence or trust that my ML colleagues and I feel in our LLA directors, as if the fear of being political is greater than our families' fears for their lives. Our community has responded beautifully, but we need our city leaders to do more, and we need the school board to advocate to them on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. Talia Duniak?
My name is Talia Duniak. I am a CMS mom. Yesterday morning, ICE agents parked inside the cemetery directly across from Eastway Middle School. This cemetery is a place where students walk alone every single day. No ICE was not on campus, but they were embedded on a student walking route. 15 minutes before the school bell rang to start the day, while Eastway students were walking on foot, my brave Latino husband and I confronted the ICE agents, followed them out and into the school zone where they drove recklessly and erratically. They tore through the cemetery like the presence of our children did not matter. You might say, well, you followed, you did the same thing. Please file that complaint under protector blaming right next to victim blaming. I am willing to put my physical safety at risk to protect others, as well as my legal safety. This is not a unique experience that we had, and this is happening across our schools and our community. Your current actions are as effective as thoughts and prayers. Business as usual, thank you, is not enough. We are demanding a hybrid learning option for our students as long as these federal operations continue. Provide parents with transparent concerns of bad actors working inside of our schools, reporting to ICE that there are absences. This is what I've heard directly from people who work in this school district. Allow parents to make an informed choice for their safety while you all work on identifying those bad actors. Issue public explicit assurance that these terrified immigrant parents will not be dragged into truancy court over student absences at this time. Our community is terrified, but we are not powerless. We are organized, we are watching, we will protect our children with everything we have. Immigrant families deserve safety, dignity, and a school system that does not abandon them in a moment of crisis.
Thank you. Allie Call. Ray LeGrand.
As I and my coworkers have prepared for and responded to the arrival of CBP paramilitaries in our communities, we have reached out to school and district leadership hoping for guidance, support, and collaboration. Instead, we've been told that we shouldn't concern ourselves with matters outside of the classrooms, that worrying about immigration and policy isn't part of our job. I'm a teacher, and like most educators from day one, I've also been a social worker, a seamstress, a nurse, a custodian, a food pantry, and multiple teachers in one day. No educator should be expected to stomach leadership who looks at the events of recent days that, in the words of CBP chief, has hit Charlotte like a storm, shrug their shoulders and say, not in my job description. On Monday, 21,000 students were absent because they were afraid they would be taken by armed men. Many of these students who did attend were preoccupied with the terror that they'd return home at the end of the day to find CBP had abducted their parents. CMS has unbelievably announced that classes and testing shall carry on as normal in-person learning. Simple human decency requires that you see that there is nothing normal about this moment. CMS leadership must acknowledge that we are experiencing a disaster as destructive and disruptive as any severe weather, pandemic, or mass casualty event. CMS must recognize that the crisis has rendered attendance and testing policies trivial. CMS must provide a centralized source to provide information and community outreach, as well as receive questions and concerns in real time from all concerned stakeholders. This is not the time for usual top-down hierarchy with communication coming only from the district down to principals. CMS must over-communicate. When I was seeking guidance and trainings this week, I was told several times that the board and the district sent out an email with guidance in August. Can you imagine if a parent asked why their child failed in October and a teacher said, I sent an email in August? You can't force us to take active shooter training where we are taught how to protect our students from gunmen and expect us to silently wait while masked gunmen descend to our city. So much more.
Ms. LeGrand, please feel free to email us the remainder of your comments. Cal Queen.
Good evening, I'm Kyle Queen, here representing, why is my microphone on? Representing Public Schools Strong. There is much to grieve and much to anger us in these days, but I want to address a ray or two of light about things that have been done right. On behalf of PSS, I want to say thank you to the board and to Dr. Hill's administrative team for holding the line on the safety of our immigrant children. I especially thank the legal team for finding the most expansive protections on school property possible. Kudos to the board for setting the goals and to educators and the administration for, this is a major understatement, doing more with less. Test scores are by no means the measure of a person, never mind the complete measure of a child. But CMS testing results are something to celebrate. I also want to say thank you to our outgoing board members. We have observed Ms. Byers-Bailey, Ms. Klein, Ms. Easley, and Ms. Nunn to have been thoughtful and diligent representatives for their district and for the CMS system as a whole. While we look forward to working with the newly constituted board, we are sad to lose their knowledge, integrity, and judgment, and wish each of them the very best. Thank you.
Thank you. Frida Ibarra.
Buenas tardes, good evening. My name is Frida Ibarra. I have been an educator for 10 years, 9 in the classroom, and this my 10th as a school counselor. As someone who spent her high school years undocumented and afraid, I now have the privilege to stand here today, a little less afraid, to urge the board to advocate for allowing the red Know Your Rights cards as resources for our families. We are educators, and we educate our students. We educate on rights, just as we do through our civics curriculum in our high schools. I will quote Chicago Public Schools in their Family Resource Guide regarding increase in federal law enforcement presence in Chicago, made available to the community October 2025. This information is provided for general awareness only and should not be considered legal advice. This is not legal advice. This is a resource. I'm inspired by the message that Team CMS voiced this afternoon when stating our priority remains unchanged, the safety, well-being, and education of every student. Education is being made aware of your rights. Safety is knowing and implementing your rights. Well-being is knowing and having access to support. Today, school counselors were provided with a CMS Student Services guiding document for trauma support. However, I want to point out that the information was not explicit how we were to respond to our families that are being impacted by the current crisis of Customs and Border Protection activity in Charlotte. A broad labeling of trauma does not adequately prepare us to respond and service our community now. We need to specify what reasonable access to counseling services and other supportive services we can refer our students to. services that are equipped to deal with the number of families that are being impacted by this crisis. Our community is looking to CMS. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Thompson.
I was going to do my Tower Bank swap, but I said it not. Good evening to everyone in this space and those watching at home. My name is Amanda Thompson, and I'm the president of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Association of Educators, an employee, but most of all, a mother of a 14-year-old. On Monday morning, before 9:04 a.m., as she was on her way to school, she witnessed something no child should witness. Customs and Border Patrol agent chasing and detaining an unarmed man near a school. She came home shaken, and I stand here tonight carrying the same heaviness. My heart is heavy, my mind is troubled, and my hands feel bound, not because I am inactive, but because so many of our neighbors, families, and students across Mecklenburg County are living in fear and uncertainty. CMS cannot face this crisis alone. CMAE building captains are reporting heartbreaking stories. A child arriving with a handwritten tag saying, "I am a U.S. citizen." A parent messaging the school saying, "My child is carrying their passport today to school." A bus driver today was torn between policy as desperate siblings tried to pick up their siblings because the parents were in hiding. This is not normal. This is not typical in-person school day behavior. This is an academic disruption. 21,000 students absent is something we cannot minimize or continue to ignore. Eller Baker taught us, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. We call to action, coordinated daily communication across all levels of government to counter misinformation, clear protocols given to every CMS employee. We know that this is an attempt to divide our community, but we will continue to stand in the gap, and we ask everyone to continue to do that. Fear can no longer guide us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany Newkirk.
My name is Tiffany Newkirk, and I am an ML teacher at Pinewood Elementary. I am speaking tonight not as someone reading headlines, but as someone who sits with students every day. I am speaking as a mother of a second grader in this district who always asks me how my students are doing and if they are okay. She feels their fear too because children know when other children are hurting. This week, our community has been shaken. As news spread of immigration enforcement in Charlotte, the impact on our school was immediate. Those empty seats in my building are not just numbers. They are 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds whose families are too afraid to leave their homes. Those students who have come sit in hollow classrooms asking, "Where are my friends? Are they okay?" And I don't have answers for them, not because I'm not paying attention, but because there has been no clear guidance, no language, and no support for how I should respond. District messages have reminded family and staff that students must attend school, that operations are normal, that there is no enforcement activity on CMS property. These statements are accurate, but they do not fully address the fear that our community is living with. What our community needs is leadership that matches the gravity of what they are living through. I am not asking for CMS to take a political position. I'm asking them to take a human one. I'm asking for 3 simple things. 1, clear, compassionate guidance for teachers about how to speak to students who are scared. We are the ones who look into their eyes when they ask questions we are not allowed to answer. 2, trauma-informed resources that principals can safely share with families because families should not have to face this alone. And 3, acknowledgement from the top that this week is not business as usual and that our families deserve to have their fears taken seriously. I stand here because I love my students, I love their families, and I am asking you from the deepest, most human place to acknowledge the fear our families are living through. They deserve a district who recognizes that and equips us to serve them every day.
Thank you. Bolin McClung is the last speaker for the evening.
Thanks for letting me speak. This is a good time to congratulate you and the superintendent for student outcomes-focused governance. It's been a success. It's been the biggest change since K-8s. Later, staff is presenting Goal 4 reports, which cover students likely to graduate. I'm here to comment on the other group that isn't graduating. Is something that I seldom hear mentioned. For a number of years, I've sent lists of the worst North Carolina high school graduation rates. They are bad, and CMS owns them. 2 years ago, CMS schools were number 1, 2, 3, 4 in the state out of 180 schools. Last year was a slightly better. Garinger has been the state's worst graduation rate 3 years in a row. With the board's focus, you have a plan that by 2030, we'll be sending better prepared rising ninth graders to the schools on this list. By 2034, graduation rates might be in excess of 90%. But between now and then, there is a group that did not get exposure to the focus in the early grades and will perpetuate poor graduation rates at every school on this list. You should create a focus 2.0 to bridge the next 4 years of unprepared students headed for ninth grade before dropping out. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments this evening. That concludes the public comments portion of our agenda. I turn to Dr. Hill for the voluntary separations and promotions through November 18th, 2025 report.
As presented.
I turn to Dr. Hill for the Student Outcomes Focused Governance Guardrail 4, Interim Guardrails 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3 report.
As presented.
I turn to Dr. Hill for the Student Outcomes Focused Governance Goal 4, Interim Measures 4.2 and 4.3 report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will begin tonight's report with a brief video highlight.
Career and technical education courses prepare our students in a manner where it turns their passion into a purpose. With the hands-on experience to the industry certifications and being able to take dual enrollment courses, it prepares them for that next step where it's going into the workforce or into the college level.
Philip has done a lot in terms of like the class selection. Hard courses like the AP courses and like some other challenging classes have really like gotten me prepared for college and whatnot. And our dual enrollment program has also given me the opportunity to see what college is like.
As our students
come into Philippa-Berry, we strive on ensuring that we're preparing them ready for the real world. So exposing them to college opportunities, exposing them to job opportunities, and just exposing them to the workforce.
I believe as soon as our students enter, we make the mission for them very, very clear that we want them to have a goal after they graduate, whether that is attending university or going into the workforce, and we have explicit conversations with them about what that's going to look like for each student. We offer a number of programs here so that each student feels like they have a place and a plan once they graduate.
Our kids, they take Montessori electives here, and most of those are in our CTE pathways, so a good number of them graduate with a completed pathway, either in animal science, sustainable agriculture, or horticulture.
We have students that go straight into the military. We have students that go into straight into the workforce, and then we have our students that don't go to four-year universities, and they wind up going to community college, junior college, and they still wind up having a direction when they get there because of that job shadowing experience that they had here.
I got into a lot of anatomy classes, a lot of biology classes through dual enrollment, through my science pathway. And so therefore I gained a lot of the skills that I kind of need, and I also gained the knowledge that I really was passionate about this.
A lot of AP classes are challenging just because of the increased coursework and difficult exams at the end of the year. But I just found myself really excited to do that coursework.
So here at Hawthorne, we define college career readiness by making sure that our students gain certifications, that they score 17 or higher on the ACT, as well as silver or better on work keys. And they choose to come to this school, which is a health science focused school. So all of their courses, outside of their core courses, are patterned for the health science field. So once they reach the 12th grade, they're able to take either pharmacy tech or nursing fundamentals that would give them a specialized certification, either pharmacy tech or a CNA license.
With the nursing fundamental class, I feel like that's a really good hands-on learning because you actually get to see the daily livings and the work style of a nurse.
All right, good evening. This evening's monitoring report is focused on Goal 4, Interim Measures 4.1 and 4.2. This report is the last 24-25 end-of-year monitoring report. We are awaiting final official 24-25 data from the state for two indicators, credentials and concentrator pathway completion. We are using projected data for this report while awaiting the final data from the state. We anticipate the final official data for these indicators to be provided to us in December and January. We will, of course, share the final confirmed results when we receive them. I want to start by providing an overview of Goal 4 and its indicators. Goal 4 is to increase the percent of high school students graduating with the cohort on track to be enrolled, enlisted, or employed as demonstrated by achieving at least one indicator from 72% in June 2023 to 85% in June 2029. Let's start by looking at the percent of students who graduated in 24-25 who met at least one indicator. 77% of our graduating students met at least one Goal 4 indicator in the 24-25 school year. This achievement exceeds our annual target of 76% by a full percentage point. It also represents a 1% increase from the 23-24 school year. This slide shows that for the second year in a row, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools has exceeded the annual target for the percentage of graduating cohort students meeting at least one Goal 4 indicator. The 25-26 target is 78%. You also see on this slide that 44% of students met the grade level proficiency indicator in each of the percentages for each indicators on the chart. Now let's look at 10th grade students, last year's 10th grade students. Thank you. At the end of the 24-25 school year, 55% of 10th grade students met at least one Goal 4 indicator. This number met our annual target of 55%, and it represents a 3% increase from the 23-24 school year. As a reminder, we are still awaiting the final official data from the state regarding our credential and concentrators. With that data, when that data is incorporated, the 24-25 percentage of 10th grade students meeting an indicator could be higher. The percentage of our 24-25 10th grade students meeting at least one Goal 4 indicator met the interim 4.1 target of 55%. This also represents an excellent 3% increase over the results of 52% from the previous year. The 25-26 target is 57%. You can see the most common indicator met by 10th grade students are the grade level proficiency and higher education / college credit indicators. Finally, let's look at current 11th grade students. (73% of 24-25 11th grade students met at least one Goal 4 indicator. This number met our annual target of 73% for this cohort. It also represents a 2% increase over the results achieved in the 23-24 school year. And it also projects that Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools has reached the annual target for overall Goal 4, Goal 4 Indicator 4.1, and Goal 4 Indicator 4.2. All three grade levels have met or exceeded their 24-25 Goal 4 annual target. The percentage of our 24-25 11th grade students meeting at least one Goal 4 indicator met the target of 73%. It also represents a 2% increase from the previous year. The 25-26 target is 75%. You can see the most common indicators met by 11th grade students are grade level proficiency, higher education / college credit, SAT, ACT, and concentrator indicators. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Chair Sneed to facilitate discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Board members, we follow our normal cadence of kind of looking backwards before we're looking at future strategies. Board member Shipp.
Yes, I want to look back on page 4, and this probably was part of the video as well. Number 6 on page 4, it talks about the goal for 25-26 indicators, right here. The percentage of students completing a CTE, Career and Technical Education Concentrated Pathway, including the junior ROTC pathway. How is that going? Because I know we moved junior ROTC, this is new, into the CTE. So how is that going? And then what work is being done to ensure, I may be asking combination, maybe this is a follow-up, that they are aware of what's happening with CTEs?
Yes, so you are correct. When we when the board actually approved we presented and approved the indicators for the school, which was actually hard to believe this time last year, there were 7 indicators. And as we discussed, we collapsed the JROTC into the CTE. We are working very hard to make sure that we are sharing information with our parents and our students. We're really working hard to make sure that we're advertising to the parents and students the merits of that pathway with JROTC and what they can actually do with that. We've also done a lot of work in terms of ensuring that our instructors are participating in certification programs to be trained to give the assessment, and then also making sure that students have the availability to take the assessment both in the spring and the fall. And so this year, we have already started that for this fall semester.
All right, thank you. And that was indicator 4, indicator 5, which was my follow-up, and you responded to that, because VAB test is so important here now too for our students. And how they're doing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other backwards questions? Any other?
Go ahead.
Oh.
Because mine's a
Okay. Oh, no, well then, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay,
mhm.
okay. So looking on, page, page 7, I think it is, with the indicators and the percentages. I think it's page 7.
The 6.
What were some of the indicators that, what indicators the data suggests that, I'm sorry, that's my forward part. Sorry. What does the data show is our, the indicator that improved the most for our data that we have right now? Sorry, my wording is right now.
No.
Here we go. What data does show does our indicator contribute most to our current level of student readiness?
Say it one more time, I'm sorry.
Which indicator contributed most to our current data that we have right now?
Yes, so as you can see, the indicators that we did or had the best success with would have been the grade level proficiency, the higher education, which is the college and career courses, as well as the ACT and SAT. I think it's important for you to hear the numbers behind those. I think it puts it a little bit in perspective. So we had 44% of students that met the grade level proficiency indicator. That was 4,449 students. Next, I want to point out the students that met the completion of the higher education our college credit indicator. That was 44%, and that represented 4,484 students. And then finally, it would be actually the completers, 40% at 44,058 students.
Okay. Do you want me to hold off on my follow-up?
Do you have a backwards question, Board Member Klein?
Backwards.
Okay.
I can wait.
Is it related to your? Then go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
so looking forward, which indicator do you think you can make the biggest growth with to bring our numbers up and to make our goals for this year?
Yes, so I want to go to slide 18 and talk a little bit about the college credit, which is the College and Career Promise, and talk a little bit about the work that's been done in this area. So the College and Career Promise is the opportunity for students to be dually enrolled, which means that they earn high school and college credit at the same time. And so one of the things that I want to call out is last fall, we had students enrolled in 5,480 courses. And this year, this fall, we have students enrolled in 10,178 courses. So that's an increase of over 4,600 courses that students were enrolled in. We have seen a huge increase not only in the number of students that are participating in CCP, but also the percentage of students that are actually being successful. So we had an overall success rate of 82%. Last school year, and we've done a couple of things to achieve that. One of the things that we've done is we have what we call CP academies. And so at our high school, we have increased from 5 in the 23-24 school year, 12 to the 24-25 school year, and this year the goal is to have 13 of our traditional high schools that have Central Piedmont instructors on campus teaching college-level courses. And so with the academy model, the school works very closely together to make sure that the students have time and space in their schedules to actually take these courses, which is why we were able to increase so much. The other thing that we have done is we have, Dr. Payne asked you this, and I keep forgetting, 12? 13. We have college and career coaches, a number, I think it's 12.
12 or 13.
Yes, 12 or 13 college and career coaches, and they are 51% funded through Central Piedmont and 49% funded through us. And they're strategically placed in schools where we want to make sure that students have equity and access to college courses.
All right, I believe you had a backwards, so we'll just.
I think it's backwards.
Okay.
Looking at the ACT, and it's building upon what Ms. Easley was talking about, and looking back at the curriculum, and I don't know if it's too technical or not, are we looking at, or have you looked at the success rate of the ACT according to the semester which they took English? In other words, if the ACT is given in the spring, which it's normally in the springtime, and they took English first semester, are they getting the skill? Did they get the skills? And is that something that you looked at?
We've not necessarily taken a look at the correlation of if students were enrolled in their English course when they took the ACT in the spring, but I can talk specifically about curriculum, thank you, curriculum embedded work that's in our springboard curriculum. So as you can see on the slide here, for the unit plan and overview, the springboard curriculum has unit planning pages that identify specific lessons within each unit that directly correlates with the ACT and SAT concepts. In the grammar and language lessons, springboard includes lessons titled Language Checkpoints and grammar and usage highlights that connect to the reading. In the springboard curriculum, students also have daily writing opportunities, and they're able to make sure that student writing and grammar needs are taught in context and in the moment. Additionally, there's a supplemental response to data, and the language and writing workshop supports the grammar and vocabulary skills. And so on this slide, you can just see what it actually looks like for the unit, where you see that SAT connection. And then over on the right-hand side, you can see the lessons, the activities, and then where the embedded work happens for each of the lessons.
No, it's no follow-up. Vice Chair Rankin?
No,
Okay.
forward facing.
No, I think we're moving to forward. You have a backwards or forward question?
I have no idea.
Just move to forward
But it was
question.
something they just talked about.
Okay.
So I don't know, but I don't know what it's backwards.
I think we're ready to transition anyway, so.
Okay.
You can go ahead with your question.
Thank you. I just attended the North Carolina School Board Conference last week, and they did a presentation about how much more effective it is for the college teacher to be in the high school teaching the college course than it is to ship them off to the college to do it. I didn't realize we were doing that. And so thank you.
Yes, this has definitely been an initiative that we focused on, especially when the board passed this goal. And so there's different strategies to have students have access to the dual enrollment courses. We have the CP academies, of course, that I've just mentioned that have grown. We also have students that are taking courses at our middle and early colleges. And then, of course, any student still has the opportunity to take courses at Central Piedmont by going onto their campus. But you're correct. We remove a lot of barriers by actually having the college professors, instructors on campus delivering that content. I thank you for putting a slide up here, Beth. I do want to point out that there's benefits, and we've kind of broken it out here. So when the student is earning their college credits in high school, that would be the academy model that I mentioned. The students can earn college credit, of course, at no cost. They're able to enter college with credits already earned, and it obviously reduces the tuition cost. when we have students that are attending our middle or early colleges, the goal is that those students graduate with their associate's degree before they get their high school diploma. And when I say that, it's really like 2 days before, but it's still cool to say that you get a college degree before you get a high school degree. And so what that allows students to do is have direct transfer into the North Carolina University system. It also, a lot of our students that graduate with that associate's degree, once they get to college, their schedule is freed up, so they're able to do opportunities like study abroad. They're also able to double major, and many of our students go ahead and finish their undergraduate degree and start graduate degree work during their 4 years of college because they already have 2 years under their belt. And so students are able to save a tremendous amount of money by enrolling in college and dual enrollment courses.
Okay, now I'm off on a tangent. If they're going to graduate from college before they graduate from high school, does that mean we're going to have to do 2 different graduation ceremonies for them on 2 different days?
Well, they actually do. So they have the students actually have a graduation at Central Piedmont. So it is a college graduation.
Oh.
And then they turn around and then
Come to
graduate
us.
with
Okay,
us
so
from high
it's
school.
not us doing the graduation
No.
like we do for the, because when we do the 13th year, some of them did them together and then some of them did them
Yes.
separately. But it was we were doing it at least on the same day.
Yes. And so, yes, that is correct. That's correct.
Thank you.
The other, can I just add to that? So the other way that students can earn college credit is through AP courses. And so I just wanted to take an opportunity to point that out. North Carolina had the highest percent of AP courses taken and passed in the history of our state this past year. And Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools was recognized at this State Board of Education meeting. Dr. Balknight went and actually presented some of the strategies that we've used. But we are really proud of the work that's happened there, and I just want to share some information with you. In 24-25, CMS students taking AP exams increased to an all-time high of 11,289. These students took a total of 21,799 exams, which is also the highest in Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools history. A record 75% of our students earned a qualifying score of a 3 or higher on these exams. And what that equates to is over $14.3 million in college tuition savings. So really great work that's happening by our students, and our teams are definitely leading the effort.
And I could add an anecdote to that. I took the AP exam when I was in high school and passed it. And when my freshman year in college, I started off taking my math courses with the juniors. And by the time I was a junior, I had to switch and get a physics major because I'd finished my math major already.
So you double majored?
Yeah.
Yes, and then went on to law school.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Vice Chair Rankin?
Great data point. I want to focus on, because based off the data I received from our technical and tactical questions that we sent before the meeting, but also based on the data that's in the appendix, I really want to talk through strategies that we may be implying to possibly close some of the gaps that were more between, say, as we have some groups, student groups as low as 45, then some as high as 92. What are some strategies we can apply to close the gap to? We've done a great job on this goal, but to close the gaps on some of our students, to increase some of the students that are at the 45 level, down there, to get them some more indicators to where we can, whether it's taking AP, whether it's getting a course, a CTE course, do we have any, what, can you talk through what strategies we can apply to improve those?
Yes, so I'll circle back to the College and Career Promise, what I talked about. We have put our CP academies in our schools that have the greatest need to accelerate in those areas. So as I mentioned, we started off with 5 and we've grown to 13, but the schools that we have listed that have that CP academy, we're bringing the college instructors to the campuses with the students that need them the most. The other thing that I would say is that we are heavily advertising to our students what it means to be a concentrator. We want all of our students to be a concentrator, regardless if they're going straight to work or if they're going to college. But making sure that they have access and information and being really strategic when we build out the student schedule, that they are actually going to be completers in a pathway that will lead to a Tier 2 or Tier 3 credential. If you take a look at, can you go to the tiered credentials? We had a long conversation about credentials this time last year, talking about the Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 credentials, and really focusing on the Tier 2 and 3 credentials. And I think the next slide, Beth, keep going. One more. Let's see. I did want to point out that we've ensured that, here it is, 100% of our CTE pathways offered are in demand for our STAR jobs, NC Works, and Charlotte Works. So we're being very intentional to make sure that CTE programming is available in all of our schools. We're being really intentional to make sure that students are aware of the pathway that they need to take and being strategic in scheduling them out. The other thing that I will say is, can you go to, it's like the first or second page that talks about what we need to do this year. Yep, right here. So this is what we're doing for all of our seniors to make sure that they're meeting at least one indicator. We've identified every single senior who's not met at least one indicator. We're taking a look at their current schedule, like what's the indicator that they would be most likely to be able to meet. And then we've put in place a monitoring system to make sure that we're tracking them throughout the year. So on the next slide, you will see the database of all the seniors that have met, this is obviously, we put in fake data there. But here you can see the information that our counselors have access to, our principals, instructional leadership teams, and they're actually meeting with students to make sure that they are aware of what they need to do in order to meet an indicator. So we are tracking individual students and monitoring them and making sure that they're able to graduate this school year meeting an indicator.
This is really good. Would it be possible to, say, do something like this for some of our juniors going into their senior year? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, I think that would be very important. So going into the fall, we'll know what they need to take, which indicator, is it AP, is it too late for the CTE, but that's really good.
Yeah, so to your point, and to one of the speakers' points, you're trying to hold 2 bodies of work at one time,
Yeah.
right? So we have the students who are already juniors and seniors who had already started high school when the board adopted these goals. So what we have to do to get them caught up, if you will, to get an indicator is a different body of work than what we're currently doing with our younger students.
Yeah.
Through like the Endless Possibilities Fair for students that are in 5th and 8th grade, the course planners, making sure that their schedules were built out. So much more strategic, planned out, that follows this plan for those students that are moving up, but of course not forsaking the students that are already currently in 11th and 12th grade.
Okay, really good, thank you.
I have a question, and it's what you just showed. It was on slide 50, the 25, 26 credentials, and then the 24, 25 credentials. What strategies are you using to identify that we are in alignment with what is needed in the workforce in determining how we have, what credentials we're putting into place, and that our ability to provide access to getting these credentials?
Well, we use several data sources, but I would say that the best strategy that we have is through Charlotte-Works and then also NC-Works that identifies the work-based needs in our community and points to what's needed right now and what's going to be needed in the future, and then making sure that our pathways are closely aligned to said pathways. And so Dr. Balknight works very closely in multiple networks, but is very involved in both Charlotte-Works and NC-Works and supporting us with that work. And so we were even in discussion today about things that we'll be sharing later with the board in January and beyond in terms of making sure that the CTE pathways are more aligned and available to students regardless of what school they go to.
Just as a follow-up, so what strategies are you using, or how do we make sure when we're talking about the credentials that we earn, that students can earn now and in the future, that budgetarily we can sustain it? Does that make sense? Like, how do we make sure that we have the funding to provide the most, to be able to have, let's just say it's high-tech area, that we're able to provide those pathways?
So we are really starting that work at work that we knew already needed to happen, but to Ms. Nunn's points earlier, really taking a close look at what we're doing, what's being effective, what's getting a really good return on investment, which students are enrolling in what courses, and then, of course, the quality of that work. So we will be sharing a cost analysis of both our programs and then also taking a look at CTE and sharing what our recommendations are in terms of continuation, and then also really thinking forward and innovating and making sure that we are taking a look at programs and choices that are really going to excel our students forward instead of just continuing to wash, rinse, repeat. One of the things that Advocate Health, our ENRs from Advocate Health, it really helped us think through is every organization should always be taking a look at their budget, their spend, what's working, what's not working, and if it's not working, there's nothing wrong with saying we're going to stop doing this so we then can invest in something else. And traditionally, what we do is we just layer and keep doing things and then trying to add more and more on top. And that's probably not the most healthy thing to do. It's really difficult work to do, though, because we get attached to things, we like things, whatever. But we really have to take a look at, is what we're offering beneficial to what's needed now and what's going to be needed for students in their future? So we're excited about what we have to share in the coming months.
Board membership.
Right. I had wanted to add to something that was said, I'm going to say it. Had a student I saw just recently, want to say thank you. She was dual college. She finished Central Piedmont Community College. She was one of my former students. She was working at the airport, and she went on to A&T to complete Aggie Pride, and she went on, and now she's doing well. She said, I completed IT, and that was because of being able to be dual enrolled. And she was thanking me and I was saying CMS for that. And she's doing well. And you know, when we look at our students and sometimes their backgrounds and where they come from, it's always wonderful to hear that. But anyway, moving forward to my question. Mine is under indicator grade level proficiency, which we know we're really working well on. But what are we doing now in terms of professional learning opportunities that are offered, but we're not always accessible to our specialists and our high school in terms of supporting high school ELC courses? And I think that's, I don't know what page that is. I don't know if I got the right. That would be
Yes,
page 16.
Page 16?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because the teacher is just so critical to all of this.
Yes, so this really speaks to the, this particular indicator speaks to the theory of change that we talked about with the other goals, 1, 2, and 3, and just making sure that each of those bricks, as Ms. Monterey Duvall refers to them over here, that making sure that each of those bricks are really solid and that professional development is strong all the way through. We have to make sure that our specialists are able to provide support to our master teachers, and our master teachers are in the schools every single day with our teachers to make sure that they're right beside them, providing them with just-in-time professional development, conducting core action walks, and all of that work. So we've really made sure that we've taken a look at how we're delivering our professional development, making sure that we are focused on participants able to answer questions about the professional development, their self-efficacy, how they feel about what they learned, and if they're able to take those skills and then apply it to the classroom.
Thank you.
This is more of a follow-up on the credentials because it went into the question I was asking. Historically, a lot of those have been built in magnets or school choice.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys, is part of this plan to look at the alignment of that versus how does a child in District 6 access all those programs today? Because sometimes there aren't pathways necessarily for them to those.
Yes, so the work. Looking at Dr. Faulkner, am I allowed to speak? Okay. We are really working to separate magnets from CTE programming because they really are two separate things. Aligning the magnets so there is a clear pathway from elementary to high school. Perfect example of it would be our arts magnet. We obviously have a clear continuum. We can do the same thing with our other programs such as IB, STEM, et cetera. But when it comes to CTE, it really should be separate and apart. And then taking a look at the pathways that we're offering, making sure that those pathways are accessible. And if we only have specific programs that are only offered at a couple of schools, figuring out a way how students have access to that, but not commingling it in the whole magnet process. Because the feedback that we've heard from families is that it's very confusing and they just don't understand how they get access to that level of programming.
Perfect.
There's also, I will also add that CTE comes from a separate funding pot, and so it comes from a separate funding pot.
Vice Chairman?
I just want to make a note in the data. I'm not going to be biased to Cambridge, but my daughter did do get a Cambridge diploma.
Yes, at Hopewell High School, which
did.
is a national model.
Yes.
It is.
I don't see it. We don't have a slide designated for Cambridge. I know it's not a large program, but they are students receiving college credit by passing those Cambridge exams. I know we have the AP and they have the IB on here.
I think it's on slide 19. Indicator 3, college credit, advanced placement, Cambridge, IB.
No, in the, where you passed it already. Yeah, we have it, the percentages in
Oh,
there.
you're talking about in the appendix?
Yes, where we have the AP percentages, we have the IB percentages, but then we don't have like the Cambridge, how many of those?
We'll make sure we
Cambridge,
get that
yeah.
for you. On this slide 19, we note that 38 students earned the Cambridge AICE diploma.
Yeah.
In the 23-24 school year. We will get the more specific information for you. I'm sorry, here it is, I can barely see it. So in in the third row, the third row all the way over, it says 24, 25. So we increased from 38 graduates to 45 graduates in the 25, 26 school year.
Yep.
But we'll make sure that we get it to you in a graph format so you can see that.
Okay, thank you.
I think, I know we've talked a lot around Charlotte Works and NC Works and figuring out how, because if you ask a lot of, especially 8th, 9th graders, they're not going to necessarily know what they want to do or what they're interested. So I guess almost like, how are we marketing what are going to be jobs available, and almost kind of making sure that they're getting exposed or sampling all the different pathways? Because I will say, even as a parent, looking at that chart is extremely overwhelming. I know we did the Endless Possibilities career fair, but are there other methods we are looking
Yes.
forward in the future to doing to give them deeper exposure beyond
Yes.
that too?
They also do a career interest inventory and then align that with their course planner. And students do that in the 8th grade. And so this past year, I believe, was the first year that we did that for students that are rising freshmen this year. So that's what I was speaking to a little bit earlier of, 2 bodies of work. We're just starting for students that are freshmen this year that would have taken that career interest inventory and then aligned it to their course planner to plan out for the year based on what they're interested in.
Is, for those that didn't go through that, because we've got 10th, 11th, 12th, are we doing a modified version of that, or?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a modified version, but we are really closely taking a look at what the students are interested in and if it's possible for them to complete a specific pathway. So one of the things that, I just keep going back to low-hanging fruit, if you will, is the resource that we have right in our backyard, and that's Central Piedmont Community College. And so the relationship that we have with them is so good that even this year, we're able to offer, is it this year? Able to offer college courses for kids in 9th and 10th grade. Next year, yes, we'll be able to offer. I think we were to pilot it maybe this year, but definitely next year, be able to offer that for students in 9th and 10th grade.
I believe that's the conclusion of the questions. Thank you, board members and Dr. Hill, for a robust discussion as usual. I'll do one last opportunity for board members, particularly those that this is their last meeting, if they have any final comments before we go to our final action item this evening. No? Okay. Oh, yes, okay.
In my earlier report, I was just reporting what I do just about daily, going to schools and doing things. But this is my last time to talk and to say how much these 12 years that I have spent on this, working with this body, have been impactful to my life, and I feel that I have made an impact on the body of work that we have accomplished in 12 years, and when I came home, I retired from a practice of law, and I thought that was my retirement. But now I feel like now I'm really retiring. And this one, I'm proud of what I did there, but this touches, I guess it touches me more because of it's a step forward for what my parents had done. My father was very instrumental in the Greenville Fairview Homes community, which is why the community asked that the school be named after him. And as I was campaigning, I just began to realize the students that were attending Reed High in Belmont, which is where my mother taught. And then, and after that, she taught in Gaston County over in Mount Holly. Those students migrated to Charlotte. And as I was going around and talking, to the communities, they would come up and remind me that they knew me because they knew my mom. And they knew, well, I used to go over there and visit with her, but I knew a couple of them, mainly the ones from Reed High. But there's some tales that I could tell that I'm not going to about the ones that I ran across in Gastonia, but that knew me and recognized me just because of my name and because my mama had talked about me so much that they recognized my face just from pictures. The impact that they had on their community of education, and for me to then turn around and have an impact on CMS and the education of the body of education that CMS has gone through for 12 years is weighty. I guess it's weighty. And I feel I've done a good job of what I started out to do, and then I've done a good job in stuff that I didn't even know was possible to be done or that I would be interested in doing. But it has been 12 years that I am satisfied that I have done a good job. And I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to serve my community in this way.
Thank you. I think that's a good way to end our comments this evening. The last item on tonight's agenda is I turn to Vice Chair D. Rankin as Chair of the Policy Committee to make the motion on modifications to Policy S-Tech, Technology Acceptable Use. As this is being reported out of committee, it does not require a second.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the proposed Madam Chair, I move to approve the proposed modifications to Policy S-Tech, Technology Acceptable Use, some of which are required pursuant to Session Law 2025-38. The modifications included introductory paragraph outlining the board's intent in adopting the policy, a revised definition section that includes statutorily required language of what a wireless communication device is, new language addressing limitations on CMS network to use to protect student safety and safeguard student information as required by statute, statutorily required limitations on the use of wireless communication devices during instructional time, as well as the board's expectation for their use during non-instructional time by CMS students. The board's expectations regarding how employees and volunteers communicate with students via text or social media, or provision specifying that confiscation of a wireless communication device, that's a tongue twister, may be consequence of violation of the policy, and a requirement that the superintendent submit a copy of this policy to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction whenever it is revised. If approved by the board, all proposed changes will take effect on January 1st, 2026. The policy committee met and considered this modification at our November 10th, 2025 meeting and voted to recommend fast track approval by the full board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, it's out of committee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Rankin, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
Board members, are there any other comments? I think we're ready for the question. All those in favor, by show of hands. It's unanimous, Madam Clerk, with 8. There being no further business, the motion carries. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. No, no.